You know, I've never really been a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First debuting in 1983, Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Leonardo dazzled kids with wacky antics and killer fighting combos for over a decade before I was even born. Yet, they're one of those peak 1980s cultural icons that has found a way to persevere and carve out a niche following. And that following is assumedly composed of now fully grown up 80s kids and the children they've passed their love of the series onto. So yeah, it's endured. I mean, the franchise aired its most recent TV show series just 4 years ago in 2018. The point is, there's still a widespread awareness of the pizza-eating turtles, even if it hasn't pierced its way into my worldview. So it's no wonder that a game like TMNT Shredder's Revenge is seeing such a positive reaction, especially in these dog days of summer devoid of top tier releases. After dying to endgame bosses in Elden Ring more times than I care to admit, venturing through the lands between for the second time, well, I needed a break. I saw this on Game Pass and had heard decent things, so I gave it a shot. And as I walk away from its short campaign, I can't help but to think, you know what? That was a pretty good little game that more people should know about. It's a fast-paced brawler that works because of cool combos, short levels, a multitude of playable characters, and an art style that harkens back to titles from the 1980s. However, there is one major condition for me recommending this game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, let me tell you a little bit about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Brawlers are a genre that I'm not familiar with at all, but I have a YouTube channel, so I'm definitely qualified to review this game, as you well know. Sarcasm aside, I haven't played a brawler before, but Shredder's Revenge helps me to understand why this once massive genre has found ways to endure despite a big drop-off in popularity. We don't play games at the arcade anymore, we play them at home. Shredder's Revenge then looks to take that arcade splendor and slap it right into your console by offering up short, bite-sized levels that don't overstay their welcome. Most of the levels can be completed in about 7 minutes or so, and there's 16 across the story mode. The brevity of the levels allows you to complete most of them quickly while ensuring any game overs won't see you backtracking very far. I died to a few bosses, but restarting never felt frustrating because I knew making my way back wouldn't be a slog. So it was a good fit. And the greatest asset these mini levels brings is that it allows for the core gameplay loop to not overstay its welcome. Let's face it, brawlers are pretty simple, relying mostly on enemy variety and a plethora of combos to keep things interesting. If levels drag, these simple mechanics can become tiresome, but when you're speeding through them, it feels rewarding. Quick, simple progression delivered through fun and empowering combat. It's a formula for success. Shredder's Revenge accomplishes this by offering the player a plentiful number of combos and moves to experiment with. However, I found the most basic combo and super moves to be more than enough to get through the campaign unscathed. Whether it was Leonardo's katanas, Michelangelo's nunchucks, Donatello's stick, or whatever the hell Raphael uses, I found each to be a capable fighter able to defeat enemies with style and power. The 4 turtles, along with April O'Neil and Master Splinter, are playable, and there's even a bonus character that unlocks after beating the story. Each character has 3 stats: power, range, and speed, meaning that each handles a little bit differently, especially with the different super move animations that they use. Personally, I found Splinter and Raphael the most enjoyable due to their decent speed and heavy-hitting moves. There's enough levels in the campaign to experiment with the different playstyles to see what you like best, while still being able to level your character of choice before the game ends. For every threshold of bodies you pile up, your character will gain bonuses, such as new moves or additional health. By the time I reached the final level, I felt I had a character strong enough to take on the challenge. Besides leveling and combos, Shredder's Revenge also utilizes other elements to help keep the experience fresh. This includes a ton of enemy variety, and vehicle sections, and bosses with different mechanics. There's environmental hazards and traps, there's temporary power-ups, and there's even collectibles. Each of these small yet tangible inclusions keeps the gameplay feeling different enough from level to level so that you never get bored. That's the biggest reason for why this game finds success. It had a clear vision for what it wanted to be and worked hard to include as many mechanics and ideas as possible without overstepping outside of the boundaries it had set for itself. So it's a solid game. The other element that helps in spades is the pixelated art design the game employs. Not only does this harken back to games of the 1980s, but it also adds a distinct sense of style and substance to the levels. Each setting is different. You'll beat up baddies through the zoo, through malls, through the streets of New York, and even alien planets. But the cohesion in the art design helps keep it all feeling connected while looking beautiful in the process. Shredder's Revenge also features a killer soundtrack that I'm sure really resonates with fans of the show and lovers of 80s music, especially video game tunes of that time. The soundtrack really stood out to me while playing through the levels, and that's not something I can say about many games. Usually, for me, the music blends into the background, but here, it was just as front and center as these enemies getting thrown directly into the camera. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Much like the game itself, I want to keep this review brief. However, I mentioned one caveat about Shredder's Revenge, and I do think it's important to note. This TMNT game took me only about 2.5 hours to complete, and while length is by no means an indicator of quality, it's still something to be wary of in this case, since it cost $25 to play. The game is quality, but it does feel overpriced for the value proposition. However, if you have Xbox Game Pass, I definitely recommend checking this one out, especially if you're just bored one afternoon. You can get through it in one sitting. If you're on another system though, where you have to pay for it, I'd probably recommend waiting for a sale unless you're a die-hard fan of brawlers. So yeah, it's just something to be wary of. Anyway, that's gonna wrap things up on Shredder's Revenge. I hope you enjoyed this short video. If you did, feel free to subscribe. As I've been saying, we're going for 1,000 subs by the year's end, and we're getting pretty close, and that's exciting. Also, if you are playing this game on Xbox, then you're probably familiar with the Halo franchise. So consider checking out my nearly 2.5 hour look at the series. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing for more. Follow me on Twitter at NopNapNarp. And as always, guys, have a nice day and take care. Cowabunga!